Welcome to What Do You Know podcasts. This podcast was created to inspire, to open up those sparks and invite us to what do we each know. Now, my guests come from all around the globe, have experienced, have created, and brought different things into this beautiful world. But what if their journey is just there to be an inspiration for what it is that each of us actually knows? Some of our topics will be about the planet, businesses, money, creation of wealth, relationships, and so much more. And we invite you to listen to this episode of What Do You Know? Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Do You Know podcast. You know, I always have some very, very interesting people from all around the world joining me. And today, the great pleasure of one of my friends based out of the UK, Dr. Manoj Krishna. So welcome.
Thank you, Lale. Always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Yeah. Well, I had the great pleasure of meeting you sometime this year, and the great work that you're doing with your app, HappierMe. But before we get there, can you tell these awesome listeners all around the world a little bit more about you?
Okay, so I was a spine surgeon for 30 years. And I got into medicine really to help ease suffering because I really enjoyed that. You know, you do some work and then the patients are grateful and, they become your friends for life. So people I operated on 20 years ago, they still kind of reach out. And one famous patient of mine got a tattoo done on her back around the operation and got my name. She put my name at the bottom of the tattoo. Can you imagine?
I can imagine. That is some gratitude from a patient.
The thing is, when you ease suffering, people are grateful, naturally. But I left medicine to start the HappierMe Project because I believe that this understanding that we are trying to bring into the world could end suffering at scale. Imagine if it was possible to end stress, anxiety, depression, mental health problems, or reduce them dramatically, to put people in charge of their own mental health. Imagine if it was possible to have relationships with much less conflict, or to reduce addiction and all of that. And to be able to make better decisions, to lead a happier life. We have such a short time on our planet. Imagine if we could also use this understanding to solve some of the big challenges we face as a humanity, as an Earth as a whole. Climate change, war, all of that. So I'm going to explain how something so simple could have really wide applications in the world.
Yeah. Well, you and I met initially because I also interviewed you on a different podcast. And one of the things that I really, really adore you for is what's in your own heart. Sometimes people put things out there because they would like to help others, but they don't really start from within. And with you, you start from within and you also share that gift with others. And the HappierMe app is just so inclusive. It's there for so many different reasons. And I'm going to let you be the one to talk about it. But what I also love is that you knew it also needed something different. It needed the focus for teenagers. And you guys just launched that in the last month or so. So I'd love it for you to give us a little more information about what did you know needed to be part of this app? And then.
Yeah, so, I started this journey really because of my passion for young people. And so the app for teenagers was the first thing in my mind, but I knew that we had to have something for adults first. So we launched something for adults in January this year. And the one for teenagers has been in development for almost 3 years. We've been talking to teenagers all the way through, saying, does this work? And so on. And one of the great features inside is something called Teen Talk. They're conversations with teenagers from around the world. And I'm just sitting there as a friend, drawing things out of them, Their wisdom, if you draw it out of them, is incredible, unbelievable. But at the moment, Lally, there's so much suffering in that age group. 22% of teenagers are thinking of suicide. 29% have a mental health problem. 46% feel persistently sad. And these are all from the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta in the US. And the US is good at collecting data, but I'm sure it's the same the world over. Imagine if we could give them the tools to prevent that, And that's what I think we've been able to do. Because if you think of say all the mental health problems we have, stress, anxiety, etc., as a fire in our own mind, I knew that we need to put the fire out first, right? And in that sense, we're similar to many other programs. We have breathing exercises and meditations and mindfulness and journaling and tapping. But then we need to find out why the fire started in the first place. So you go in and you learn about, why did this fire start in my mind? Yes, there was a challenge out there, but why did my mind react in that way?
Mm-hmm.
And we give people the tools to understand themselves. And the more you understand yourself, the more you can be the architect of your own happiness. See, that's the beauty of it. And this understanding is simple, but the impact can be life-changing.
Truly, truly. And it's interesting because I'm in this line of business too. Like I really would love to empower people around the world to know it's not everything outside of them, but it actually is starting from within.
Yes.
And I love the way the app also gives them different things in their journey. Like you said, putting out the fire. Well, the fire, shows up in different ways. But then there's also what's next in my journey. So, okay, I've been putting out the fire, but what are these other resources? So do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Okay, so we've got a 5-step program. It's called Pathway. So if you say to yourself, yeah, I want to be a person who makes the most of my life. I want to have a rich life, not only on the outside, lots of money, but on the inside with joy, happiness, peace. How can I achieve that? Because at the moment, we're just wired to keep accumulating on the outside, not realizing that we also need to work to create that richness on the inside, right? And so it's a 5-step journey. It starts off with calming your mind, because a calm mind is one that can look at itself. And we have, as I said, all the techniques. But then we help people understand their own mind. How do you learn to look at yourself? You know how to look at the world outside, but how do you learn to look at yourself? So we talk about awareness and insight and how to ask a question. For example, when you're envious about someone else who's posted some great pictures on social media, if you ask yourself a question, what's going on in my mind to make me feel this way? Not what Lale has posted on social media. You're in Costa Rica now and this amazing rainforest, and I'm just, whatever, I might be stuck in cold England. So when I ask that question, I learn, my mind's comparing all the time, but I wasn't aware of it. See? Now that I'm aware of it, I can then respond with intelligence. See? Otherwise, my mind is creating my own suffering. So when I start learning about my mind, then I can be so much more free of suffering. Then step 3, we teach people how to understand what's happening in their own. For example, we're all conditioned by our past experiences and our environment, but we're not aware we're being conditioned, right? And yet we become attached to our opinions, our beliefs, and so on. So imagine if you're Russian, I'm Ukrainian, we're about to kill each other, and we pause and we ask a question. Like, why? What are we doing? And then we realize, we've just been conditioned by our environment to be Russian, Ukrainian. We're attached to that. So someone says, go kill somebody else, and off we go. Right? So the moment you wake up and realize what your mind is doing to you, then you're free. And step 4 is understand and manage all your emotions, anxiety, loneliness, anger, all of that. And then you can apply this to have happy relationships, manage your own mental health, avoid and overcome addiction, and become emotionally intelligent. And as you know now, increasingly, that's being shown to be vital for our success in the world. What really matters is not your degree and where it's from, but how emotionally intelligent you are. And nobody teaches that, either in school, college, or university. So this deeper understanding of yourself awakens your own inner intelligence. Or you could say it connects you with your own light so you can shine in the world. Right?
And then step number 5?
Yeah, so really then the more you travel, then you learn to, you start getting a different worldview. You realize you're part of the universe. You're part of that universal energy. You start connecting to that feeling of grace in the world. You can call that by whatever name you want, but you start feeling one with all of humanity. And from that comes compassion, not just for you, but for the world. So for me, when I see a baby now, my heart goes out. Not my baby, any baby. I think, what world are we creating for this child? We all need to come together to create a better future for humanity. And I really believe that this understanding and Happier Me could be one way of doing that. And so my mission and passion is to bring this understanding to as many people as possible.
Yeah. And that's, it's so interesting. Like you and I talked earlier, right? I was born in Iran. The Middle East is very special for me. I did
Yes.
grow up in France and most of my life in the US, and now I travel all around the world. And for me, it is that oneness that you're talking about. We may have been born in different places. We were identified maybe by our culture, our religion, or the country we're from, but deep down inside, we're part of oneness. We're not
Yes.
one. There's no one. There's the unique you and the unique you and everyone else, but we're part of this wonderful oneness. And it includes our planet, it includes the universe. And when we are willing to actually stop separating ourselves, that's when we also feel better. Most of us don't recognize, but that's what we learn. That's what we learn in school. That's what we learned with our families and other things, was the separation. But actually, we're our happiest when we're not separating, because
Exactly,
then
love.
you're not
Exactly.
separating from you either.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about the Happier Me app.
Well, I've got
And
2 examples to give you, if I may,
okay,
to
sure.
reinforce your point.
Yeah. Go ahead.
One is from a Sufi, not a Sufi saint, a saint in India called Kabir.
Okay.
And he said, every wave thinks it's separate
Mm-hmm.
when it rises, but then it dissolves into the same ocean. See? So we are all the wave. We think we're separate, but we forget that we come from the same universal energy. And when I talk to children and I say, what's the answer to war?
Yeah.
They have an answer. You talk to a room full of adults, you go to the United Nations, they have no answer, right? And children will tell you to realize we are the same ice cream, just different flavors.
I
We are the same human being underneath, exactly what you said. But to make that and embody that in your life, you need to go on this journey of learning about yourself. And the more you learn, the more you realize, we're the same human being. And from that comes compassion, love. It can heal our divisions, bring us together, solve so many of the problems we face as human beings.
I wish my happy world Everybody knew that, and I know not everyone wants to hear this conversation, but there's plenty out there that do. So I know that's your mission, that's my mission, and I want to talk about the Happier Me. It launched in January. A
Mm,
month ago, you launched the teenage version of it.
mm.
And now you've got partnerships from the National Family Support Network, who has 2 million families
Yes,
that this
exactly.
app. Yeah, yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit more about like
Yeah.
the
So,
wings of this app?
yeah. So it's one of the few apps in the world that now has something for teenagers and adults in the same app. So it can be looked, all families can be supported. And as you know, there's suffering everywhere. We hide it behind all our smiles, but underneath, inside, all the suffering continues. So it's one app that really takes care of all the different elements of our happiness. As you know, our happiness comes from so many things, right? Mental health, relationships, work, the well-being of our kids, our mindset, past trauma, all of that. So the National Family Support Network in America has partnered with HappierMe, and they're going to introduce it to 2 million families that they support in the US, along with their staff in 3,000 resource centers around. And they are then talking about taking this to families around the world. So we're really excited because, as you know, the Happier Me mission is to reduce suffering, help people lead happier lives, make the world better. And yeah, so that's kicking off actually just this week as we speak.
Congratulations. This is like such a big deal. I know like when you look at the journey that it took to get here, the
Yes.
Happier Me launched in January, but it didn't start in January. It started a long time ago.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of amazing people coming together, a lot of hours and a lot of energy being put into it to allow it to launch and to have this. And I know but there's another partnership. Do you want to talk about that one too?
Yeah, so we're just launching a partnership with a business network called BBX. And they have 40,000 businesses in their network, and they're
Yeah.
connected to 500,000 businesses through international exchanges where they exchange goods and services. So they are planning to invest in Happier Me and planning to share the app with those 500,000 businesses. So we're excited because in the next 12 months, we'll be in front of 6 or 7 million people. And yeah, imagine if we could empower people to be the architects of their own happiness. Because at the moment, our mind is just an automatic reaction machine. When bad things are happening outside, we're suffering inside. There's a fire inside. And with this understanding, life can be tough on the outside, but inside, you can still be really good. That's what this brings, you see. Because the challenges of life will keep coming. Lack of money, relationship challenges, work, all of that, health, so many things, and the world and its wars and all that. But inside, you can be extraordinary. That's the beauty of this understanding.
Well, I'm so grateful for you. I know that, your career started as this incredible doctor, a spine surgeon. First of all, it takes a lot of guts to even go that specialty. It took a lot of years. I know that. So thank you for that. But also knowing like the world needed you. You knew you had to be a leader and create something that you really believe is needed in the world. So, can you, just before we go, maybe inspire others who they know they have a vision inside, but they just don't know with everything that's going on, like, what do I do? What's that first step?
The first step is the most important step. If you take the first step towards whatever dream you might have, only then the second step reveals itself.
Mhm.
And once you've taken the second step, only then the third step reveals itself. So you have to have the courage to let go. I love this line: a ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are for.
Yeah, sometimes our comfort zone is something we have to be willing to let go of because
Yes.
in the uncomfortable is actually where something new actually exposes itself and a lot of possibilities that come in that world. So,
Everything beautiful lies on the other side of fear. So where your fear is, there your work is. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So if there's anything negative happening, fear, anxiety, that's a great opportunity for learning about what's going on behind the scenes to make me feel that way. And the more you learn, the more free you become. And what Happier Me is doing is giving people the tools to do that. It's so simple that 10-year-old children get it. So anyone listening can do the same. All you need to do is begin your journey, take the first step. And that might be having a look at the Happier Me app. There's a free trial and all of that.
yeah. And we'll have all the details in the show notes. So, if you guys would like to find out more, you'd like to download the app. I downloaded the app, and for me, it was so much fun. It brought so much variety, and I know there's other apps out there, but today we're highlighting Happier Me app. And, I know you have some aggressive targets too, looking at bringing more people to know something else is possible. So I'm sending my contributions for whatever it is that Happier Me is looking to have. Because really, like, we don't tend to recognize how much we distract ourselves in a given day with what we're aware of, whether it is sadness, whether it is the war, whether it is the war in our own heads or in our families. And so, when we start to look at beyond that, is when you get to actually experience the real you and
Yes.
what you're capable of,
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm really excited about this app. And thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for creating this app with all the incredible people who are out there, because it takes a village to create this app.
Of course, so many hundreds of people who've helped create this. It's not something I've done on my own at all.
Definitely, definitely.
And if
And
anyone listening would like to contribute, then please get in touch.
definitely. So all the info will be here and just reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. And I'm so grateful for all of you who are watching, you're listening to this. And please, will you help us spread the seeds? Because what would it take for more people to know that another option exists? They don't have to choose it, but for them to even know it exists.
Hmm.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here for this episode of What Do You Know podcast. We're so grateful you're here. If you have not yet subscribed, you can subscribe below. And will you contribute to assisting us in spreading this out to all others who may be looking for it? And comments below. Let us know. What did you think of this episode? What contribution has it been for you? And also, what topics would you like to hear about? We look forward to hearing from you today and in the future.